All right, we're talking American football. No World Cup today. Sorry. Go USA versus Iran. Thursday, gobble, 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 Cron Pod. Thanksgiving Day. We start out with the Bills playing their second straight game in Detroit against the Lions. I think I gave you a little heads up about these Lions. They had won 3 in a row, and they put themselves in a position to win this one, but they do not win it. The Bills walk away with the win. Tyler Bass field goal at the end of the game. They tied the game with 23 seconds left, and the Bills were able to get it into field goal range. I mean, good field goal range, a 45-yard field goal. Josh Allen, 253 in the air, 78 on the ground. The Lions are playing really well, man. I really wish there's a group of teams that are 4-7 right now, the Lions, the Browns, that if they were 5-6, I think we'd all be doing a little like, but 4-7, if you're a mediocre team, is hard to climb out of. Bills, 8-3. Back to their winning ways. They have won 2 in a row. Browns, Lions, you kind of expect that. They go to New England. How about that? On the 1st of December. Jeez. Where does the time go, BBD? You know? Man, we were young when we started this. Now look at me. Glasses, pullover. Look like a golf dad. Everyone always says that. All right. Enough of my pity party. Cowboys, Giants. BBD, your Giants?
My Giants.
Kind of hoping that there was going to be a game here, right? The Cowboys came off the blowout to the Vikings. I started dreaming it up on Thanksgiving. I was like, maybe this is Saquon's like signature ever game. Like takes down the Cowboys to get the Giants to 8-3. He does not. These two, both teams 7-3. Cowboys get the win at home. They were up 28-13 after the Hendershot touchdown. Yeah, their tight ends were having a day. Yeah. How about that? They kept cranking out a new one, and they kept doing something. Giants end up scoring at the end to make it a 28-20. Any thoughts on your G-Men, Beebs?
Felt pretty good. Giants up at halftime. Another kind of classic game that you feel pretty good, but you're only up however much, and then the Cowboys, I think their talent won out in this one.
What was that? Was it a 4th down conversion where they threw it out to Saquon in the flat and he dropped it?
Yeah, that was tough.
That, the way these Giants play football, which is a credit to them because there's not a lot of teams that can play competitive football, one-loss football, or, win by a score. That Saquon one, that took a lot of the wind out of the sails, and that hurt.
You'd like that one back.
That one hurt. I still don't know if they win the game, but that changed it and kind of put it in the ugly spot.
The Adoree Jackson injury is looming large. Just by far the best defensive back. The combo of him and McKinney being out is brutal, but especially Adoree. Because his was super avoidable. Got hurt as the punt returner, which in real time everyone was saying, I know our punt return's been bad, but we don't need to sacrifice him for this.
Yeah, I mean, the Talking Giants guys have the receipts on that.
Yeah. Everyone was in real time. Like, bad idea.
Like 1,000%. So that stinks. That being said, for some of the guys they were pulling off the streets, the Giants, it's a credit to Daboll. I think he's already earned his chops this year. If Giants fans heard they were going to get a 7-win season, I think they would have signed up for that. They're currently 7-4. So the Cowboys, though, how about them? 8-3. Dak missed some time this year. Zeke looked better. I know Pollard looks like an absolute freak show, but Zeke looks better. And, I mean, I don't know. Sometimes I think in sports we overthink the formulas that work. Zeke is a really good short yardage back. I mean, if you need 2.5 yards, Zeke can get that. Pollard, as explosive as he is, in a couple of the short yardage plays, and I think he got exposed in this game a little bit. That's not what he's good at. I know he's breaking tackles and making plays, but that's because he's so explosive right now. But they have that two-headed monster, and the way Schultz looks, and CeeDee Lamb and Gallup is out there looking okay. Cowboys, 8-3. Not as good as the 9-2 Vikings, who won the nightcap game against the Patriots and Snack Jones, who actually ends up putting up monster numbers. 382, 2 touchdowns, 0 picks. Vikings, they end up 10-point fourth quarter to get them a win. I mean, Kirky puts up a very modern-day Kirk Cousins stat line, 30 for 37. Man, I don't know. It's a good product a lot of the time, but like that used to never exist. Dalvin Cook gets stoned. My guy, Dalvin Cook gets stoned. Put that as the headline. Justin Jefferson just announcing and re-announcing himself as probably the best wide receiver in football with some of the catches he's making, how open he gets. 9 receptions, 139 and a touchdown. Thielen and Hawkinson too. They each get in the end zone. Patriots 6-5. Who do they have going the rest of the way? Bills, Cardinals, Raiders, Bengals, Dolphins, Bills. I don't know. Patriots, are they the ultimate barometer team? Is that what I'm constantly looking for? Like, who's the lose to a good team, beat the bad team? Maybe we'll find out more about the Pats. Let's go to Sunday. God, I still feel actually fat from Thanksgiving. I know a lot of Americans do, but my God. I was eating my way out of convos.
Yeah, that's what happens.
That was bad.
This morning was bad morning.
That was bad. Browns, Buccaneers, Tom Brady and the Bucs. They win. Bye week. They're 5-5. They're still in first in the division. Keep getting sucked in. And then in Jacoby Brissett's last start for the Cleveland Browns, the Browns win in OT, 23-17. I don't know, man. That division still stinks for Tampa Bay and the Bucs.
They're still in first.
I already told you, ignore him and Rodgers. But they were in first, and that's what we keep saying.
Still are.
I'm going to continue to ignore them. I'm glad my guy Chris Godwin is going for fantasy reasons, but otherwise, the Buccaneers, man. I mean, this Browns team, 4-7 after the win with their backup quarterback. Nick Chubb is elite, but the Buccaneers as a team just aren't good. And I feel like this ends with the first round of the playoffs. The Bucs are going to play someone like the Cowboys, and everyone's going to say, oh, Tom Brady. You know, Tom Brady, who, by the way, has never lost to the Cowboys. Fun fact. But please remind me to not buy in. If the Buccaneers are in the playoffs, please remind me to not buy in, because they're 5-6. Atlanta's 5-7. Carolina's 4-8. New Orleans is 4-8. The fact that Carolina and New Orleans are around anything is like disgusting. Those teams are not good. Congrats to the Browns as they get Deshaun Watson back. Chris Rose? Bengals beat the Titans. This was a fun one, right? I think I ended up on the wrong side if I listened back to last episode, because the Titans are at home, and I believe what they're doing with the program there. That's my new favorite phrase. One of my buddies said that when he was talking about his fantasy team, and it made me laugh. Like, this was a big week for our program. I was like, you're running a fantasy team, dude. But that's why it worked. Bengals are back to 7-4, and that's why this game was tough for me, because you guys know I was trying to drink the Bengals Kool-Aid, even when their win-loss record wasn't looking as reflective as what you want. Their tailback tandem, that's a cool phrase, Jake. Excuse me. It was just the Pirine show. Samaje Pirine went nuts. He had the touchdown running. Oh, I thought he had the receiving in this one. That was not. T. Higgins went nuts for him. And Derrick Henry gets shut down. 2 yards per carry. Credit to the Bengals defense. I know you don't normally think about them a lot when you think of the Bengals. You think of the high-powered offense. But they're doing this without Chase.
I think they are getting back next week.
Yeah, there was a chance they were going to get him for this one. Bengals 7-4 after being 0-2. They're really figuring it out. They'll have a big one with the Chiefs. Man, they have Chiefs and Bills on their schedule the rest of the way. Some Browns, Bucks, Patriots. Bucks, Patriots on the road. Not super easy for the Bengals, but I do think with how the NFL this year as a whole, I think defenses have taken a leap. Like, there are some really good defenses out there that are keeping games tight, or they know what they're doing, or maybe it's bad quarterback play. The high-level quarterback play, I saw people listing it as Mahomes, Allen, and Burrow. Think about the Ravens and Lamar Jackson, who we'll get to them in a minute, but like some of the teams that you just think of naturally lighting it up aren't week in, week out. And if Bengals and Burrow, who just won a tough one on the road against Tennessee, I think I was looking for more actual Super Bowl contenders, and I think the Bengals are playing their way into that. Speaking of, Dolphins roll on the Texans, up 30-0 at half. They took their foot off the gas and let Houston, H-Town, Funky Town punch a couple in, but they're a machine, and I'll give credit to where credit's due. Tua is basically undefeated. We had our guy Pennick rush us through that. They're 8-3. I think we looked at the schedule after they lost. They lost 3 in a row without Tua. That Steelers, not a good team. Lions, nope. Bears, nope. Browns, nope. Texans, nope. Said this was going to happen. Let's find out at San Francisco. Let's find out at the Chargers. Chargers are kind of a barometer team, right? At the Bills, 3 straight road games. Niners are also like the Bengals trying to enter that next class of NFL teams. Bills are there. Chargers want to, but they're the barometer until they're not the barometer. And then, so you know what the Dolphins are going to do? They're probably going to go 1-2 in that stretch, which, by the way, not fully shots fired. Like, on the road at the Niners right now is really tough. At the Bills, that's really tough. At the Chargers, not easy. If you had to bet, that's the one game they get. And then they finish Packers, Patriots, Jets. So, if I had to guess, we'll be sitting here on 1-9, January 9th. They'll have won their last 3 games. They will be like 11-6. And we'll be talking about a really good Dolphins team. Again, they are above a barometer. I thought they'd be closer to that. Barometer is apparently the word of the day. Never even actually use it.
Yeah, I've never actually used
I know barometer as a sports word.
Yeah.
Not a weather word?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, I technically had one in my house. And one day I was like, oh, yeah,
Stop
that is a barometer. I was like, oh, well, you've never used it. She's like, yeah, it just is pretty. It's like a decorative.
Let's see what the Finns have in the coming weeks. Hey, they're 8-3. They're 5-1 at home. I won't take any of that away from them. I'm just, depending their playoff matchup, we'll see if I'm bought in. Tua, a lot of you know who have been listening for a long time, skeptical of lefty quarterbacks just because there was none. When he plays, he's one of the most accurate quarterbacks I've seen in a while. The timing, the accuracy is very impressive. So I have the Dolphins on a higher bar than I did coming into the season, but let's see who they get matched up with in the playoffs. And the fact that Dolphins are going to the playoffs, it should all still be celebrated. So I'll get the negative tone out of there. Speaking of negative tone out of there, Mike White. Maybe put him on the title of the episode. My goodness. Sending New York into a frenzy. Really funny. A lot of moving parts here with the Zach Wilson. He gets benched, and the Bears are awful. The Bears are awful. Like, what they've been allowing. You know, we kind of have one of those things, Bears and Ravens, you just naturally, instinctually, football fan, like, their defense is solid. The Bears are awful. Awful. And they didn't have Fields in this game. This was the ultimate get-right game for your broken young quarterback, a la Zach Wilson. And they still went to Mike White, and he lit it up. And guess what? People are starting to dig up a lot of Mike White stats that are really good, that are a lot better than Zach Wilson's. Zach Wilson's starting to get compared to Jamarcus Russell.
Ooh.
Their stats are eerily similar. The Jets are 7-4. The New York Jets are 7-4. Think about that. Think about that. And remaining on their schedule, Vikings and Bills on the road. Those are going to be tough. Lions, Jaguars, Seahawks, Dolphins to end it. What will that game mean? I mean, some of the stuff. Garrett Wilson, I believe he has 4 touchdown receptions this year. And I believe 2 are with Mike White and 2 are with Flacco. There's some of the stats and information that is coming out. Roll Mike White. He's walking into 2 tough ones. At Vikings and Bills. I mean, they set records about how good they were against the Bears. And the Bears are historically bad. But I think as we've gone to teams, let's see, how do I want to phrase this? As we've gone to teams getting more and more analytical, it makes sense. And it's not strictly tied to analytics, but it makes more sense to take care of the guys you're invested in. And I think you could say that across baseball, basketball, football, whatever. Draft picks are assets. And this has happened all over baseball. Like when we talked to Blevins and Moylan about, how relievers and guys, other guys besides top picks, how they're treated in the minors, it's pretty wild. Because they are not getting graded on achievement. Like, they are, do this, 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 and this, and then we'll send you up to AA, do this, this, and this, and this, and hopefully by the time you're at AAA, you have molded into the prospect you want. At a certain point, results have to matter, and Mike White's results are so much better than Zach Wilson's. So, the Jets are rolling that out there. We will see. It's funny thinking about the potential gauntlet they have running into the next couple weeks. If they lose those games and Mike White doesn't look as good, which he won't because they're playing better teams, will they try to take that as an opportunity to get Zach Wilson in the mix? Or are they kind of over it? And it feels like a lot of people are kind of over it. Speaking of not being over it, the Washington Commanders are 7-5. What? I know we did this 1 or 2 weeks ago about team records and who's an actual contender and who you're worried about. No one's actually worried kind of about the Commanders. If your team was playing the Commanders in a playoff game, you'd be like, all right, I like where we're at.
Lucky draw.
Let's go. Heineke and the boys are out of their dome right now. I think they're 6-1. He keeps buying new pairs of shoes. They have a goal line interception of the Falcons. This is another team with a sneaky... If you remember, the Commanders were supposed to have an incredible, all-world defense a year or 2 ago, and then they were just awful, awful. It was they were getting drafted the first fantasy football defense, and they were horrific. They're starting to find it. Heineke's doing enough because he plays a style of quarterback where you make plays. You're going to get some of the third downs. He's going to make the aggressive passes to McLaurin and some of their other skill guys who are kind of underrated. He buys a new pair of shoes. They get another win. They're 7-5. And I guess that's my thing. The 7-4 Bengals and the 7-5 Commanders, it's similar, right? But also not at all. And it just feels like there's a lot of that going on in the NFL right now. And another team that you want to not hold to those standards, my Falcons lose on the road. They're 1-5 on the road. They win at home. They run the ball. The Ravens.
Before you move on.
Sure.
You see Brian Robinson's hat?
I did see that. We support that. I've had different groups of friends reach out to me about big hats since. And at some point, I will be wearing one of those big hats. So something to look forward to for all of us. It's a big fat. Big fat? Well, yikes. Still thinking about Thanksgiving. The Ravens. 4 losses this year, including now one to the Jacksonville Jaguars. where Trevor Lawrence leads basically 2 game-winning drives. The Ravens, all 4 of their losses, they've blown 2-score leads in the second half. I don't know, man. It's bizarre. I mean, the Ravens have one of the better arguments to be undefeated, but how can you believe them? You thought their defense was solving some of their problems, trading for a linebacker and just general improvement. And then the Jaguars drive it down their throat. One of my buddies, Sheedy, shout out, officiated his wedding. My buddies like to refer to him as a jinx or a melt when it comes to sports bets and things like that. Literally right before the 2 game-winning drives by Trevor Lawrence, he says, when do we start talking about Trevor Lawrence as a bust? And then he did that. The timing was literally incredible. Our buddies were pretty shook by it. And good for Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars coming off a bye week. They're 4-7. And yeah, them and the Lions, that's going to be a fun football game next week. I can promise you that. Lawrence needed a signature win. That's kind of what my guy Sheedy was alluding to. And yeah, nobody really knows what to do with Trevor Lawrence because he technically had a full year, but it was a full year under the worst NFL coach ever in Urban Meyer. You need to just throw that out. I'm considering him a rookie. If not, worse. He was, tainted. Honestly. So one of the Jaguars players came out in their press conference and said, how bad Urban was and how Trevor's still, getting out from under that. They're with Doug Peterson. They go for 2. They get the win. Happy for Jags fans. Happy for Lawrence. Ravens. You guys could have, 9 wins so easily. Instead, you're 7-4.
Bunch of devastators.
I don't know what to do with that yet. I mean, going into the postseason, that can be the ultimate, actually, these guys are awesome and kill everyone. Or they're just setting themselves up for some sort of disaster. And Lamar's online telling guys to, I think he said, suck some dick. It felt very not 2022, but it also, everyone kind of let it fly.
We'll laugh about it this time, but...
The commenter was kind of being annoying, so people kind of let him go. Good for you, Jaguars, 4-7. If the Jaguars, again, those 4-7 teams, if the Jaguars were 5-6, could we get a little flirty? Browns? No. I believe that takes the early slate, which brings us into the afternoon slate on Sunday. Oh, there was one more. Broncos get beat by the Panthers. For those audio only, I'm hands up emoji. The guy that beat Michael Jordan in that coin game or whatever they played in the documentary. But they stink. Hackett has to go. Wilson maybe is salvageable, but not right now.
Let him get another coach and see, because you invested enough.
Because, yes, they got beat by the Panthers and Sam Darnold and Dante Foreman. And they should have. And they did. Because they're so bad. They're so bad. Chargers beat the Cardinals 25-24. Chargers with the late drive and 2-point conversion themselves to get the win on the road. Cardinals dropped to 4-8. They're throwing Kingsbury under the bus. I have some Kingsbury receipts that I could bust out. I won't. He wasn't good at Texas Tech. That being said, I mean, they salvaged something in Arizona for a little while. Kyler just seems to run out of steam every year. I did see the funny internet joke going around that Kyler is 0-3 since Call of Duty came out. That's tough. That's tough. Cardinals 1-6 at home, 3-2 on the road. 1-6 at home, Cardinals. What is you doing, baby? Feels like we all know how that's gonna end. Chargers 6-5. Herbert leads a game-winning drive. I don't know. You just end up disappointing everyone at the worst times, Chargers.
For a while, it felt like, and Cardinals were up. It felt like they were going to somehow pull out this win, that make them 5-6 7, and this game the whole time just felt like such a mid-off.
Oh, yeah.
Just so mid.
Two teams that seemingly find a way to lose. We'll see. I'm trying to find the next Chargers. Chargers at Raiders next week. They could easily lose that. Let's see. They have the Broncos, so that's a win. Oh, they finished Colts, Rams, Broncos. So, okay, so there will be a Chargers hype train at the end of the season. Maybe that's what maybe next week I'll summon up what's going to happen in the NFL and just be so fucking wrong. Whoa! Hard F. Didn't expect that. Speaking of Raiders, Seahawks, here's your 4-7 team that wishes so bad they had one more win. Because I think we would be drinking Raiders Kool-Aid. Josh Jacobs is playing out of his mind, including the game-winning 80-plus yard rush that everyone missed because Red Zone had to flip off the channel. And they were, what's the clock show? 60 minutes. I hate 60 minutes. I hope I'm never that old. Sorry to all our 60 Minutes listeners.
I was on the bus. I was red zoning the whole way, having a grand old time. Jacob's on my fantasy team for the Office League. So I'm sitting there really watching for him. They're like, we gotta let you go. And it wasn't immediately an option on the NFL app for me. And I was like, all right, well, I'm going away for a few. And then I find out that's how it ended. I knew he scored the touchdown, but like this morning, I was like, wait, it was an 86-yard run?
Yeah. Insane. I mean, it should have been like...
It felt like more points than I thought. I was like, was it a catch?
Should have been like the highlight of the day, and then pretty much everyone missed an 86-yard game-winning
Still haven't seen the video.
In overtime. Insane. Seahawks dropped to 6-5. Yeah. Let's see how their season winds down, because, hey, they still scored in this game. The offense is still doing fun things. Raiders, man. If they were 5-6... a lot of people would be on that. Devontae's doing his thing. Chiefs, they beat the Rams 26-10. Rams are playing Perkins at quarterback. Bryce Perkins, for those not familiar. No, he didn't. I was going to say he didn't look bad. He didn't look good either. Chiefs are 9-2. Yep.
Couple nice throws.
Yes, and then I looked at the stat line and some of it, and if you're the Chiefs, did you really bring your A game on this? Did you need to? Rams are 3-8. Yikes.
Happy you got the opportunity.
Yeah, knock yourself out, Perkins. Go nuts.
Have fun.
Niners, they win 13-0 after all their skill positions seem like they're just going to be world beaters the rest of the way. They show why. I think everyone's going to be drinking Niners Kool-Aid soon. They shut out the Saints. It's at home. The Saints offense has been poor itself. But the Niners, the fact that they have that in the bag, they've held their opponents scoreless the last 4 second halves. This was a bad offensive game for them, and they still won easily and, more importantly, covered. And then Eagles-Packers, how about that one? A little Sunday Night Football shootout affair. Rodgers wincing as much as a person can wince on the field. Jordan Love comes in. He actually looks okay. Give me all of that controversy. I don't know what it is. I'm normally not that guy, but just pump it in my veins. I will take all the Jordan Love gossip. And is he next? And where's Rodgers going? Packers are 4-8. It's over. Eagles are 10-1. Hurts 157 on the ground, 153 through the air. It's powerful. It's speedy. They feel like when you're playing someone in Madden and you can't do anything, like they have that vibe. Like Hurts drops back to pass and you're like, okay, A.J. Brown was open. Hurts drops back to pass and he runs for 11 yards. They hand it off to Miles Sanders, who goes 21 for $143. They're the real deal. They keep dominating on the line. I guess we'll see if something goes on with the defense. I think they just knew they were going to win this game against the Packers, so they foot off the gas a little bit. Oh, laptop's making noise at me. What's tonight's game, Beebs? Steelers, Colts. Ho! Nope. Thank you, guys. We love you. See you midweek. I think.